Oh, that's cringy. But I'll get into the backstory of that song later in this podcast. So, without further ado, I'm going to be reviewing the topic running. It was August of 2020, and the world seemed to be on lockdown. At this point in my life, everything that I did felt redundant. I would eat, play video games, then sleep, over and over again. However, during my freshman year, my dad secretly signed me up for cross country. This small little action has left me with a plethora of mostly enjoyable memories. Before the start of cross country, the only experience I had running was from the Boy Scout physical, which was just like a do 20 push-ups, then sit-ups, and then run a mile. So anyways, upon arrival at the local high school track, the heat was just unbearable. Honestly, I did not know what to expect. I just wanted to get it done. With the sun beating down on me, I heard the word go and was off to the races. After the first lap, my legs just felt like bricks. So, the 14-year-old me thought it would be clever to cheat. Every time my dad looked away, I would cut corners, and this worked. But then I got caught. Honestly, I just could not stop laughing because it took him so long to notice. Yet something he said stuck with me. Is that all you've got? For the record, it most certainly wasn't. I feel as if running has just become a part of me. Following the lockdown, my connection with the outside world was lost. During freshman year, I was shy, awkward, and really talked to people that I didn't know. That was until my first cross-country practice, where I'd end up meeting some of my closest friends. Something about the idea of running fascinates me. The motivation that it takes to break out of your comfort zone and try something new is incredible. It's hypothesized that humans developed this ability to run long distances 2.6 million years ago, most likely to hunt. The chase myopathy was a mentality held by early humans, which they basically thought they could just run and the animals would tire out and then they'd be able to kill the animals and then have food, but obviously that's not the case. But anyways, by consistently chasing animals until tired, humans developed new leg muscles and strengthened their endurance. Seeing that these primordial human beings hunted in packs, the element of running established a community. Since humans run long distances, this led to contact with other settlements. For me, running is more than just exercise. It's a way to relax. As crazy as it may seem, all my piled stress vanishes while I'm running. However, this hasn't always been the case. During freshman year, running was actually quite stressful for me. The pain my legs felt that first week of cross country was unbearable. In fact, I would skip practice and pretend to be sick, but Coach Utah doesn't really have to know about that. Anyways, the turning point of my career as a competitive runner was my first race. Upon finishing, my lungs had a burning sensation and I collapsed. But I was proud of myself. Instead of quitting, I stuck out cross country and saw huge benefits. Since I was so focused on finishing the race that day, my worries about the math tests I had taken from earlier were non-existent. Similarly, during any race, I'm more focused on finishing rather than worrying about the stresses of life. Competitive running has its origins in religious festivals in Europe and Asia. During 1829 BC, the earliest documented race took place inside the Talatine Games. Although this was a competition about strength and involved sprints, new competitions like the Olympics soon developed as a result of Greek mythology. It is said that Phidippides, a courier, ran from the site of the Battle of Marathon to Athens with the message of Nike, which meant victory, before promptly collapsing and dying. When put into perspective, Phidippides ran over 150 miles just to deliver a message. To me, this is nothing short of spectacular. The longest run I've ever completed was a 14-miler, and after running it, I was sore for the next 3 days in a row. Phidippides, on the other hand, pushed his body to the limits and averaged this kind of mileage without any rest days. Although he did die due to dehydration right after, The marathon was later featured in the Olympics to honor his dedication. I'm personally not a fan of Greek mythology, however, its role in the history of running is fascinating. The motivation that it must have taken for Phidippides is insane. But for me, I'm motivated by seeing improvement. I remember nearly quitting running altogether because I couldn't keep up with everybody else. In cross-country practice, I remember just getting lapped by people and just remembering myself walking was just one of the most awful feelings. Yet, after seeing some major improvements during my outdoor track season, I began to take running a lot more seriously. Unfortunately, I was a newcomer and made a grave mistake that cost me a couple of seasons of running. Achilles tendonitis is a syndrome that a lot of runners face. It's an overuse injury that is caused by running too much. If left untreated, it can rupture, which would call for surgery. I obtained this injury through drastically increasing my weekly mileage. It was stupid of me looking back, however, I learned so much while I was injured. I watched treatment videos and running mechanics to prevent other injuries in the future and improve my running form. As I began to get better at running, there was really nothing stopping me. More than ever before, I found running enjoyable as I would run with my friends on my easy days, make jokes, and have great times. One of the most memorable times was during my sophomore year track season. Towards the end of the year, we the distance runners ran to a local lake with a huge rope swing. One by one, we all jumped off and just enjoyed ourselves for once. For me, this was an eye-opener because I saw running as more than just a sport. It was a community. While running is great for the community, I still have a competitive side to me. Being the middle child of 3, I've always had to earn what is mine. My fellow middle children out there, you know what I'm talking about. As the legendary runner Steve Prefontaine once said, to give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift. So for those of you who don't know who Steve Prefontaine was, he was one of the best American distance runners in history. He pushed himself to the limits and set several records in the 5K and 10K. But the quote that I just stated, it could not be any more true for me. Running has aided me in finding who I am as a person. Not too long ago, I watched Prefontaine's movie Without Limits, and I would highly recommend it. And after it, I found myself even more motivated to perform athletically and academically. So, that freshman me, who was once lazy and awkward, is now hardworking and approachable. In short, running can change your entire outlook on life and make a new person out of you. This little excerpt came from the Runner's Bible, which was a book given to me by my dad. Although I didn't read it at first, I found myself drawn back to it a year after running. The section Why Run is most relatable to me. I found that running has provided me with a surfeit of benefits mentioned, such as a greater aerobic capacity, motivation, and reduced stress. When I started seeing improvements, I found myself in one of the happiest moments of my life. I had everything that I had once lost during the pandemic: determination, a social life, and a healthy body. I remember the pandemic being one of the most stressful times of my life. The fear of losing loved ones was immense. Yet, running took my focuses away from the negative. Even though running is such a small part of my huge life, it's forever changed me. I no longer sit down and play video games all day. I just run. And this has led to so much progress. My first ever 5K was a 26:49, which is about a little over 8 minutes and 40 seconds per mile. Last season in cross country, I ran a 17:21, which is about 5:50 per mile. And remember the little intro song that I played you for the beginning, which was very cringy? That was actually the Cross Country Boys team intro this year. I don't know who came up with it, but it was more just like a inside joke. In an extremely stressful world, running is relief. I'd say it deserves a solid 5 stars. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.